Okay, so for those of you just joining us through the streaming or you're in the various rooms, my name is Timo Elliott. I'm an innovation evangelist for SAP, and I'm here with Andreas Walsh, author of the book AI Leadership Handbook. Andreas, please introduce yourself and tell us about the book.
First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity of being here. So my name is Andreas Welch. I'm an AI advisor. I'm an author. I'm a speaker on the topic of AI leadership because I see that there is such a huge need and opportunity to help leaders, to help IT leaders, enterprise architects, to learn about how can we actually turn all of this technology hype into actual business outcomes. So that's what I've been passionate about for years, and I'm excited to be doing this now as an independent advisor.
And given we're at a conference at SAP headquarters here in the Americas, it's worth pointing out that you spent 23 years, I think, with SAP. Have you recovered yet?
It's been 8 months since I left SAP. I've had my cleansing moment. So the acronyms, some of them are still there, most of them are gone. And that's why I keep coming back, right?
That's right.
Yes.
We're glad you're back. So the subtitle here is A Practical Guide to Turning Technology Hype into Business Outcomes. I think everybody in this room feels that, right? There's a lot of hype out there. So let's go straight to the bottom line. You have interviewed dozens of AI leaders on your podcast. So what is the biggest thing that we are all collectively getting wrong?
I think collectively what we're getting wrong is that we start with technology. You know, again, we need to figure out what we do with AI. Let's give people Copilot or some other kind of AI that's available to us, and let's figure out how we become more productive. And I think that's the wrong way to start. I think we actually need to start with what is the business objective, what is the business strategy, and
but the business objectives haven't changed. It's the technology that's changed. So.
Yes, but we have also seen over the course of many iterations of technology that these are the questions we should be asking, but yet we're not asking them. We haven't asked them with machine learning, we haven't asked them with analytics, we haven't asked them with big data. So I think there's a pattern in how people approach this topic of innovation in general. And it is AI today. Again, it might be quantum computing a couple of years from now. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that same pattern of let's start with the technology because we need to figure that out.
So there's this whole range of business objectives that have been a little bit off the table because the technology just couldn't help. And now with AI, we can go back to the business objectives. All those ones that we didn't think were possible might now be possible.
I think so. And I think that's a great opportunity, right? Because we are now able to do more and do different things that we haven't been able to do before. We're able to delegate more autonomy. We're able to give more automation to these systems, and they're able to think and reason and act even. And it's just based on fixed rules or what we tell them to do. And I think there's the great opportunity in this because we can automate even more complex things and realize these larger scenarios, more complex scenarios that we just haven't been able to do before.
One of the themes of the books is that we don't need more AI, we need more AI leadership. So boil it down, simple words for me. What is AI leadership? How do I get some?
So AI leadership is about 9 key dimensions, right? Among them is understanding the hype, the trends, the things that are happening in the industry, but also bring your people along on this journey to make sure that they understand what is AI to begin with, right? It's not that scary thing. It is actually quite practical. And if you use it, and if you've used it many times, you see where the challenges are, where the opportunities are, what is it good for, what should I not use it for? How do we create a culture of innovation? And that sounds pretty cliche, and we've been talking about this for many, many years. But it comes down at the end of the day to technology teams working with business teams on eye level to determine where are the opportunities where we can collaborate. Business teams know where the problems are. They experience them day in and day out. Technology teams know how technology can help solve it. But only if you bring the two together, that's when the magic happens.
So collaborating, and obviously events like this are all about us collaborating to make sure that we've got best practices. So you touched on something there that I struggle with, which is the technology is moving incredibly fast. Just 2 days ago, Anthropic came out with Claude 3.7 Sonnet, which is apparently yet another big advance in AI technology. How on earth does anybody keep up? How do you keep up? And 2, how much time should we be spending on keeping up like how do we figure out how much time to devote to trying to understand this?
I think that's a great question. I think the first realization is we're probably not able to keep up, right, with all the news. And once you accept
can I delegate my AI avatar to keep up for me?
That would be very helpful, right? And you can actually do this. By the way, I created a custom GPT to look for the top news of the day and summarize them for me. So I don't need to check all the different sources. Right? That could be one of the ways that you in the room can do that as well. But I think just accepting that there's this flood of innovation is the first step. I think the second one is then determining what is really relevant to me, what's relevant to my industry, what's relevant to my role, and what's relevant even now, right? Mm-hmm. Cloud Sonnet or Cloud 3.7 Sonnet, superseding with Cloud 3.5 or something, is a nice headline, but 3 months from now there might be Cloud 4.0 and the next version and the next version. So I think just knowing that there is innovation happening at a fast pace is good enough. But what are the bigger industry trends? How can we use this in our industry, in our business? I think that's the one piece of advice, to stay on top of this information and to drown out all the noise and filter it out.
And at the same time, though, this technology is different. You pointed out in this previous section. You kind of have to play with it and use it yourself in order to get your head around why and how it's different. So do you have any tips and tricks on what people should be doing themselves, like as individuals?
The thing that I get super excited by is the fact that many of these tools are either free or vendors offer free trials. So the barrier to experiment with these tools is incredibly low. Right? ChatGPT is available to the public. You don't even need an account. You can go try it out. Try it out maybe for a recipe. Try it out to rewrite an email or a paragraph. Don't add any confidential information. But the other tools like Ideogram that lets you generate images with actually accurate text. Right? Not every image generator can do that really well. Take Suno AI for an example. That's a tool with which you can create music, all based on AI and a prompt.
I got an ad through my email to create a special Valentine's song for my wife. The idea was that I would put in all my personal details and it would create something that would be romantic yet automatic.
Yeah, and I can tell you, my kids love it. I sometimes ask them, hey, should we write a song? Should we create a song? Give me a few words. I put it in as a prompt, and then you can spit out different genres, different styles. So learning to use these tools, right? How can you apply this in business? Well, if you learn how to use different AI tools and how to interact with them, you can apply that immediately in business when you have AI available, and see how should I ask this, how should I instruct this, for example. Right?
And one tip I would have is it's a great idea to use it in your personal life to get a feel for it before you try and apply it to business decisions. So things like, it's actually a pretty good life coach, right? Whatever your goals in life, it will help. You can even ask it to ask you questions about what your goals are and how to achieve it. And if you go online and do any kind of searching around this, you'll find it. And the results are interesting. It's a good place to start to get your head around it and then see, okay, maybe how could that apply to the business situation? Yeah. So it's clear all of this is going to change technology fundamentally. It's not at all clear how.
Right.
So what does it mean for enterprises and enterprise architects?
I think that is indeed the $1 million question, right? Because you have...
Only million? Come on.
True. Trillion.
Right? Trillion dollar question, at least by now.
According to McKinsey, it's 4.4 trillion.
Okay.
Between 2.6 and 4.4, if you believe the early hype. But anyways, so there is a tremendous opportunity, but opportunity is nice and fine and fair unless you can capitalize it, right? So that means you need to understand, where do I use this, how do I use this, what is valuable, what are nice to haves, and how does it change? Yeah, I think we will see a lot more of that as AI becomes even more autonomous, as it can reason, as it can execute things. So think about this whole new topic of agentic AI. Mm-hmm. Instead of us either defining the rules or having it look at data and look for patterns, we say, here's a goal, go book this trip for me, right? In flight, hotel, transportation. It'll change how we interact with these systems, and also, again, how we trust these systems to do what we want them to do. So it'll be a learning process for all of us, and especially for leaders and managers in organizations who will now also depend on the output that these agents create and give to their team members who give it to you. Right? So I think it's a significant learning curve, but it all comes back to experimentation, encouragement, empowerment to try this actually out.
So for example, there are some senior leaders of companies that we won't name, but they're billion-dollar companies that sell office productivity software that say that apps will go away. Apps are going to be replaced by AI. Yes. What do you think?
I think that's a pretty big claim, right? If you're in that space and you're selling software, I'm not surprised that these claims are being made. I do see a shift to a certain extent where these agents either learn logic or by new ways figure out how do I execute this step or what do I need to do to book that trip, if you will. But at the end of the day, you still need to record that transaction somewhere, that something is happening.
You still need all the underlying logic of the app, even if the UI might become more optimized for agents.
Right. So I think we see agents more as an extension or morphing into an extension that can act more autonomously, still within guardrails that you define. But at the end of the day, I'm convinced you still need to record that information in some kind of a business system and have some kind of a logic, because business doesn't change dramatically day by day or week by week.
Still need to ship stuff. We still need to have happy customers.
And that's the whole point of having a process, right? So you get the same outcome in a repeatable way every day of the week, every week of the year.
No, that's last century. We're going to have agents, and every agent is going to do it differently.
Let's see how your customers like that, right?
So I think it's true to say that nobody really knows what the future is going to look like of the enterprise, but there probably are things that we should be doing now as enterprise architects to prepare for various different futures. So what might that look like?
So that thing actually has stayed the same for me, whether you would have asked me 8-9 months ago or if you ask me now. And that is understand what the vendors in your technology stack have on their roadmap, have in their products, what you can use today, what's coming in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters to anticipate. Is this something we want? Is it something we need? Is it something where it makes sense to invest in something that a vendor has already built, as opposed to us building it from scratch? Because you still need to do all the change management around it. But staying on top of what are vendors actually coming out with, and is that useful for our business, is my number one recommendation. Also, again, you don't need to build everything from scratch.
I mean, I think it's going to accelerate a lot of the existing trends towards composable architecture will definitely play a role. They have a problem with shadow IT today. We'll have shadow AI, so more how do you work with users in new ways. So I think, and then of course there's this topic of data. Now, thankfully, everybody in this room is an SAP customer, so they have great data. But just imagine that there are some people who might be listening where their data isn't perfect. Is that something that they need to invest in order to have good AI?
I think in many cases that is something that you should actually start with.
Talk about leading questions there, sorry.
Yeah, but again, the challenge will be that a lot of times AI is that hype topic. That's where you get the money, that's where you get the funds. So I would recommend look for a way to sneak in the data project, cleanup, quality type of things as part of your AI project. So you get the funding, you get the excitement, but there's also some groundwork that you obviously need to do. But if you want to connect your agents to your specific data, if you want to build AI systems based on your data, I already said data twice, right? You need data. There you have it.
So to summarize, you need SAP Business Data Cloud. Is that what I heard you say?
Those are your words, but that could probably be one option, yes.
So I was very pleased to see that in your book you spend a big chunk of the book on governance, compliance, security. So talk about the importance of that. And again, any tips and tricks for the folks here?
Right. Good point. So we didn't talk about that in the earlier session. To me, those are topics that you usually read about in the news when something has gone wrong, right? Last year
we don't want to be a headline, so.
Yes, at least not for that reason. So some of you might remember, it was in the news, a Chevy dealership apparently sold a Chevy truck for $1 because the customer was using the new Gen AI chatbot and convinced the chatbot to sell it to them for $1. Apparently not legally binding, but made for a good story for a couple of days. Right? Another chatbot by a British logistics company went off the rails after one of their customers said, hey, write a poem about how bad their customer service is. Took some nice screenshots, put it on Twitter, went viral. So the learning is, again, in all of this excitement and rush to do something with AI, there's some fundamentals we still need to get right. Right?
What I find fascinating is it's really easy to get powerful proof of concepts or some basic functionality, but really locking it down so it does what you actually want it to and you avoid all of this, that's really, really hard.
Yes.
So,
well,
what do we do?
So, right, one way is to give it good guardrails and give it a persona and say you're, for example, you're a helpful customer service representative who assists with exactly this problem in this box, right? Maybe you search for product information in your database, and then you maybe have another AI that checks what has actually been pulled from your database, and is that readable, and is it easy to understand? And only if that agent or if that AI says, yes, it's good, you either send it to your customer or you send it to a human, again, for a final review. But it's multiple steps as well.
And I might be biased, but I do suspect that a lot of the AI that organizations end up using that is of production quality will come embedded in their existing business processes, their existing apps, their existing relationships with their strategic vendors. I'm not sure everybody needs to build thousands of their own AI agents, for example.
And I don't think you should. Again, because you need to do all of that change management either way, right? You still need to educate people, you need to enable them on the technology, you need to empower them to use this, you need to iterate and refine these things. But if you start from the very bottom, right, you need to start with data and building your platform and building your model or hosting your own model, and then you work your way up to that business application and business layer. I don't know how many quarters will have gone by before you even see the value of it. So working with your preferred vendors, looking again at the roadmap, what is becoming available, looking at the products, what is already available, is a much faster way to value, from my opinion.
All right, so crystal ball, and then a magic wand. Use those two to give us a big idea. What's your favorite big idea about what the next decade might look like in enterprise AI?
It's hard.
To put you on the spot.
It's tough, right? You've seen all of these headlines. Things are moving so quickly. The thing that I anticipate is that we will see AI doing business with AI. So AI of two different companies doing business with each other. You can have, for example, one agent that's the sales agent of one company. The other one is the procurement agent. They work out what are the optimal conditions. What material do you need?
Isn't that called an API?
You know, it was an API, it was microservice, it was many different things, but I think that's where now we're able to get a lot closer to, because these systems can reason, because they can check themselves, because they can access additional data and make decisions.
We're going to have to design our processes with connection points that are designed for agents to access.
Yes, and still be able to jump in if you need to, right? If the thing does something that you're not anticipating, or if it's stuck, or you purposefully, for example, might want to have a human review in that loop to make sure that it does work as intended.
Now, everybody in this room have these amazing, complicated systems that they've invested millions in. There's an immense amounts of data in there. Can we look forward to a future where AI just extracts all of that information, figures out the business processes, does benchmarking against all of the other companies in my industry, tells me what I should be doing, and then implements it for me? Automated innovation.
So you said that crystal ball was 10 years, right?
Oh, and that's just 2, is it? That's sooner? Okay.
No. Look, I think there are many of these opportunities, and I'm excited to see that vendors, those who are established and those that are relatively new to the startup scene, are attacking these problems. That they are looking for ways to use AI to help you solve this.
We're out of time, so where can we get the book, or where can people contact you?
Wonderful. So if you're here today, we have a book signing coming up. If you're joining remotely or watching this as a recording, you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can get the book on Amazon, on any online retailer as well. And if you have any questions about AI leadership or would like to inspire your team, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you turn hype into business outcomes. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, many thanks to everybody online. Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you.